Okay, got a question on TikTok asking about can a landlord charge a tenant for staying in a property if they did not renew the lease and they moved out before the lease term or when the lease expired, for example. Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord War on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, let's unpack this for a minute, okay? Let's say, we're coming up on a 1-year lease ending. Let's say it's like next month, it ends May 31, okay? And, tenant doesn't want to renew the lease. Landlord doesn't want to renew the lease, okay? Usually the parties should communicate to each other, hey, listen, lease is coming up. I don't want to renew it, okay? I'm going to move out by the end of the lease term, okay? Assuming tenant gives landlord, tells landlord, hey, I'm going to move out at the end of the lease term, and the landlord gets that, that notification, and then the tenant surrenders possession at the end of the lease term, gives the keys up, it's vacant, that type of deal. Here you go, landlord, there's your property back. Legally, they shouldn't be able to charge the tenant for any time after the lease term, okay? Because you moved out at the end of the lease term, okay? Now, this is kind of question, I don't know. It's kind of like a loaded question too, because here's the deal. I have a lot of tenants, right, or people, lease is going to end, right, but there's no communication whatsoever that the tenant's going to vacate, okay? And then we get, let's go back to that May 31 example, right? It becomes like June 1, then like a week or two go by, and it's like, hey, tenant, your lease expired, right? No one's contacted me about terminating the lease or like I'm going to move out, and then rent hasn't been paid, okay? And then landlord issues a 3-day notice or whatnot for rent, and then the tenant's all shocked, hey, I left, but didn't communicate that they were actually vacating or surrender possession of property. That becomes a gray area, okay? Because you gotta, many leases basically, at least provide, okay, you got to provide at least a courtesy note. It'd be nice to get a courtesy notice. And if you're a tenant and you do intend to leave at the end of the lease term, you want to, document in writing that, hey, landlord, I'm gone, okay? When that communication doesn't happen and no key, especially possession is not surrendered, you're probably going to be on the hook for at least 1 month's worth of rent, okay? Because in many leases and under the law, basically, if you continue on with the lease after its expiration, the lease goes month to month, okay? Especially if you do pay rent and that type of deal. I think in this case, there might have been I don't know. I don't know what this questioner, if they actually told the owner or whatnot, landlord, hey, I'm moving out, that type of deal. So that could be a little bit of a gray area. So always good to communicate if you're going to move out, okay, and document that. And then not only that, surrender possession. Give the keys back. Let the landlord know, hey, I want to do my final walkthrough for my security deposit, all that good stuff, okay? So, landlords, if you are facing a situation where your lease is going to expire, and preface that it's exempt from the Tenants Protection Act, basically, because landlords, remember, some landlords have to have cause to terminate a tenancy, even if it's a lease. Exception is if it's within 1 year under state law, but you may be in a locality that, there may be minimum terms like 1 year, that type of deal, or your local ordinance applies day one, okay? So you got to be careful, all right? If you're having a question about a tenancy issue, like does the tenant owe me rent under the lease or not, and you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. We might be able to help out. Put your comments, questions down below. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.